Welcome. Hello.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. So, Shina-san, welcome to our TV show. We are very delighted to have you today. And thank you very much for choosing to come to our TV show. Thank you. The first book we presented in our program was your book,
Yes.
The Art of Choosing, first of all. Then,
thank you. My
Yes.
favorite book.
Yes, and later on we also introduced your book, Think Bigger, as a practical book about choices, making choices.
Thank you.
And Shin-san really loves this book, right?
Yes. Life is a series of choices, and changing jobs is one particularly big life choice. And I first read The Art of Choice more than 10 years ago, and it is a book that explains with many examples how people may bias choices, and it has become like my life Bible, which I read again and again. So I read Think Bigger as soon as it
Thank you.
it was released, and I had a very different. The new book, Think Bigger, had a very different purpose from The Art of Choosing. That I wanted to introduce it to the viewer of this program because it is a particular but a practical. It is a very practical book.
That was the intention, was to make it very practical.
And you are famous for your jam jar experiment. The book, The Art of Choosing, which is described as this experiment, became the bestseller worldwide. The experiment revealed that too many choices make it hard to choose. How have social changes changed the importance and difficulty of our choices in the past 14 years since the publication of your first book? I mean, SNS make our choices more difficult. But what do you think about that social change impact on the difficulty or importance of making choice?
So I think that we live in a world today where on the one hand we have a lot of access to choices
Right.
and a lot of access to information. Like so much information, right? I mean, just think about even the news, right? Whether should I go with traditional news sources? Should I go to TikTok? Should I go to Facebook? Should I go to X or Twitter? Should I go to LinkedIn? Should I go to my friends? You know, and so we actually have a lot of choice and a lot of information. The biggest problem I think people have is what's good quality, what's noise, irrelevant, what's fake, or deceptive. And that's just in the case of news. Across the board, no matter what the domain is, we don't know what we can trust and how do we process all that's being given to us. Because in the midst of all of this stuff, we end up feeling like there are no really good choices. So I think the really biggest problem is we've flooded people with so much noise that it actually makes it harder for people to identify the good quality stuff. And as a result, we don't often have the most meaningful choices. And even if we do, we don't know where to find them.
What I learned from your book is that people, even they make the same choice, the perception was different.
We all, when we want to make a choice, let's say a career choice, we're often told by, our parents or, other people in our lives, what the quote right choice is or what you should choose. And that's not to say that there aren't good reasons for making those choices. There often are. The problem is that if you only choose something because you believe you should choose it, and because you believe that everybody else would say that it is the quote right choice, you're not going to be motivated to do well at it. And so what your job is, in a sense, understand what the shoulds are, but to also understand what you want. Right? Because in the end, I want to be, I don't know, happy, have fun, let's say. But I also know that I should do something useful, right? And so by understanding your want and your should, you can now use that as an opportunity to create something, to identify a choice that allows both. So that's what I meant by that. That you cannot ignore your preference, nor can you ignore what the should is. But you don't do just one or the other. We have a tendency to either say, I will only do what I should do, or I will only do what I want. But usually the best choices are the ones that enable you to take advantage of both. And that usually is an act of creativity.
I see. Are there any new findings on choice that are not included in the art of choosing?
Well, we're now about to publish a new paper, which is on the too much choice effect revisited. And there's been over 700 studies now that have looked at the consequences of offering not just people, but even animals choice. And what we find is that across the board, the more choices that are provided, the less well you do. So you already know about the JAM study, but think about crickets.
Cricket.
Yeah, if crickets are given more choices of mates, they're less likely to mate. In medical studies show that if I give you 2 types of medication to choose from for, anxiety, for example, versus 9 types of medication, the people who choose from 9 medications are more likely to report experiencing side effects from the medication, even though everybody took the placebo, whether they had 2 or 9. Right? So we know, so these are just some of the interesting studies. So that is about to get published, that there is actually now a lot of work, a lot of studies that show that in fact more choices are problematic.
That's very interesting because Japan as a country is suffering from lower birth rate, and a country is promoting a dating app to promote marriage, but through apps there are too many choices, options, so we'll see the effect.
ここまでご覧いただきありがとうございました。続きはテレ東BIZでご覧ください。